Hey, and howdy, folks. This is Coach Mike Mack. This is the Drive to Thrive podcast where breakdowns become breakthroughs, especially for those divorced dads out there. We have been traveling down the Div Dad Highway, exploring each exit along the way. And it all began with that first divorce bomb where you were left standing in the wreckage. That's when we pulled off the Trias exit, that first 24 hours. Then we mapped out those financial snapshots and built the dad pad from the inside out. Last week, we learned how not to drown in those waves of grief that seem to keep coming. Now, that brings us to today's stop along the journey, the battlefield. High conflict communication. Ooh, those moments when every text, every email, even every single post feels like it's a fight for your own honor. To tell your side of the story. The truth is, what feels like defense in the moment can become destruction later on. When you first fire off that text, email, or post, it doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels like self-defense. You're not planting landmines. You're just telling your side of the story, right? You want people to know what really happened. Well, here's the hard truth, my brother. What feels like defense in the moment often becomes destruction after the judge sees it. The message that you thought would clear your name all of a sudden becomes a grenade that you just handed to your soon-to-be ex. And all she has to do, pull the pin and throw it back at you. By the time it explodes in your face, the damage is done. Your credibility, your peace, even the time that you're fighting to have with your kids. Ouch. Now that's why this conversation matters a bunch. This isn't about being perfect. God knows I'm recording this in my car. It's not about arming yourself and then acting surprised when the battlefield blows up. No, we're going to learn how to stop handing out grenades and start protecting what really matters. Now look, this is really where most divorced dads feel the fire first. In the texts, the emails, court documents, social media, every message can begin to feel like live ammo. And every reply can turn into a grenade just waiting to explode. If you don't win this war, every text, every email, every conversation becomes a disaster waiting to happen. An untrained warrior out on the battlefield fires wildly, 10-paragraph emotional text all over, just going in every direction. An untrained warrior will also jump on Facebook and start venting and take snapshots of pictures and all this. Guess what? It's public. You're just handing these things to your soon-to-be ex, to the attorney. An untrained warrior lashes out in anger, damages credibility in court and trust with his own kids. But a trained warrior, he learns how to pause. He breathes. He communicates with discipline and with strategy. His words, they become shields, not grenades that he hands to someone else. Think of it this way. If you show up to the battlefield with no armor, no training, and no plan, you're already defeated, plain and simple. Your battlefield communication training, what we're having right now, is what's going to keep you alive in the fight that's coming. Look, if you know what I do, I talk about I'm a mindfulness coach. Before we start talking about the outward fight and the outward battlefield, We need to recognize that there's a war going on inside the mind, inside our hearts. Your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, all of these things shape the very actions that you will end up performing. And I'll be real with you, brother. Look, I didn't have any of this 20 years ago. I stayed solo through all of it. I thought I could just muscle my way through it. Well, when I tried to reconcile, I let my anger into the driver's seat. Anger took over. I said ugly, nasty words to my soon-to-be ex. I didn't know the kids were listening. They heard those words. I wounded my kids with those words. I couldn't take the words back. I even punched a hole in the wall. All of this, in a moment where I lost control. In fact, I didn't really just lose control. I handed my soon-to-be ex that grenade I was talking about earlier. And all she had to do, thank God she didn't pull the pin. I thought I was defending myself. All I wanted to do was try to get back together with her. And all I did really was throw something. I gave her something that she could toss back at me that could explode. Don't let that be you. Here's what I've learned since. There's always that tiny sliver of time, a tiny gap between the thought of what to do and the action. This is where you can interrupt that pattern. It's called interrupt the pattern. It's a moment to pause, to take a breath, to steady yourself. An untrained response, like I had back then, fire off insults, punch a wall, hand her all the kinds of grenades that she can use against you later. A trained response. The now me. I breathe. I type a calm sentence. And I walk away with peace in my mind, peace in my heart, all still intact. And here's something you can do. I haven't done this, but I know it can work. The draft and delete drill. Type out that angry response. Save it in your notes. Don't send it. Come back a day later. And you'll probably end up laughing at what you almost sent to your ex, because that was in the heat of the moment. And we will have different eyes if we can pause that 24 hours and come back and see what we had just wrote. All right. Let's talk about some rules. Some rules of the battlefield communication. First, it's called the BIF method. BIF. Brief, informative, friendly, and firm. For instance, I'll pick up the kids at 6. That's it. No drama, just brief, informative, friendly, and firm. Next, rule number 2. Stop explaining and defending yourself. The more you talk, the more grenades you will pass to your ex. Short, calm answers, the best protection that you've got. Number 3, use tools, not texts. Fact, if you've got some high-flex conversations and communication going on, you need to have co-parenting apps like Our Family Wizard or Talking Parents. They create a paper trail. Emails are better than text. These tools will cut down the fights, and what they end up doing is they force professionalism. It's like the court reporter, right? Think of it like this. The judge is going to see those. If you can keep that in mind, that will help you to use tools and not texts. Social media is a battlefield, and what you don't do is vent online. You don't tweet, subtweet. You don't post your pain in public. If you wouldn't want your kids, your boss, or the judge reading it, don't post it. Number 5, protect your peace. You don't win by winning arguments. Here's how you win. You win by staying calm. by conserving energy, being the dad that your kids can count on. Your peace, that's the prize. Number 6. This is new to me. This wasn't around 20 years ago. Parallel parenting. It's separate highways going in the same direction, because when co-parenting feels like it's bumper cars and you bumping into each about everything, bedtimes, what food they're going to eat, all of that stuff, it feels like bumper cars. Parallel parenting means each parent drives in their own lane, and imagine a concrete barrier running down the middle so you don't have any crossover. Minimal, if any, communication. Zero overlap. In other words, when the kids are at your house, your rules. When the kids are at the ex's house, it's her rules. Judges love this because it lowers the conflict and the kids can thrive on that stability. Now, let's talk about the inner versus outer connection. You can use a co-parenting. You can do all of these things. But if anger is in your driver's seat, you're going to still blow it. Bottom line. If you can't resist firing back at midnight, or maybe when you've had a few to drink, the app's not going to save you. In fact, the app's going to be what puts you under. Now, let's take a look at the old self versus the new self. The old self is fueled by pride. He feels attacked when someone says something that's not quite right. He wants to defend his honor right now, and it's the only option. His trigger is quick. His words are many. His paragraphs are long, and his peace is gone before he even knows it. The new self knows that peace is the highest priority. He's not trying to win a text war. He's protecting his credibility, not with anyone else except himself and his kids, which keeps him sane. It keeps him steady. The new self learns to pause. He learns to breathe and let some things pass, because he knows that sometimes silence is the strongest response possible. Now, how do you make that shift happen? First, name it. Name the trigger. Say it out loud, or maybe in your head. I feel attacked. I want to defend myself. Once you name it, you can tame it. Hit the pause button. Deep breaths. Smell the roses. Blow out the candles. 3 deep breaths. 15 seconds, you can rewire your nervous system. It gives you a gap to choose to respond rather than react. We don't want to react, because then something else is going to be in your driver's seat and you're not going to like the results. Box breathing works great here as well. Smell the roses. Blow out the candles. Deep breaths. Blow the candles by blowing all your air out. It puts more oxygen in. All right. Let's ask a trucker question right here. Let's ask the GPS type of question. Where do I want to go with this? If I send this, where do I want to go with it? If the answer is not peace, credibility, or consistency, then don't send it. If the answer is I want to defend myself, I want to make sure everyone knows my side of the story, don't send it. Do not send it. You got to swap the script. The old self is going to say, I want to prove her wrong. The new self says, I want to prove to my kids that their dad is steady. Choose silence or very short answers. The strongest move in the reply could just be one calm sentence. Either way, you're able to hold your peace. The truth is, brother, you don't have to be that old self anymore. Every time you pause, breathe, choose peace, you're proving to yourself and to your kids that you're not that guy anymore. And that's the kind of father your kids need in their corner. Look, there's another way to think about it. Think about this communication thing like a chain of command. Okay? You're the commander of your own words and actions. You, the commander. Your kids are the civilians that you are protecting. Kids, civilians. Next, the judge. Oh, he's the general who gets the reports. He gets your texts, your emails, your posts, all of it. The brothers in the convoy were your fellow soldiers who have your back. Now, what about the X? Your X is not in the chain of command. She is the opposing force on this battlefield. Her goal is probably to provoke you in some way and provoke you into breaking rank. If you treat her like she's part of your command, you'll end up taking orders from chaos. If you treat her as enemy, I'm not saying to call her the enemy, I'm saying if you treat her like an enemy trying to bait you, you'll remember your job. Stay disciplined. Protect the mission. Protect your peace. Your ex may try to provoke you in breaking rank, all kinds of weird things. But if you hold the line, the judge will see discipline and not chaos. Divorce can feel like a war. In fact, it can be some of the greatest battles fought, the outward battles. But remember, the best battles are fought inside of us. The outer fight, the text, the court, the social media is won or lost by the inner warrior that you train every single day. Battlefield checklist. Train the inner warrior. Pause. Breathe. Draft and delete. That's number 2. Biff your messages. Brief, informative, friendly, and firm. Number 3. Stop explaining and defending. Number 4. Use tools, not text. Number 5. Stay off social media. It's a battlefield that you don't want to be on. Parallel parenting. When co-parenting fails, you drive in separate lanes. Protect your peace. Calm beats chaos every time. That completes the checklist. Remember this. You don't win by handing out grenades. You win by protecting your kids, holding your peace, and driving steady in your lane. This is Mike Mack with the Drive to Thrive podcast, where breakdowns become breakthroughs. Now, brother, share this with someone that's stuck in the trenches of conflict. Remind him, in this convoy, no man drives alone.